my ducks, it's Simon here. Welcome back to the Hermit's Cave. I hope everybody is doing okay. Let's light some incense. What shall we... Let's go with Holy Smoke. This is a nice one from Native Soul. It is another very warm day. It's a lot cooler than when I last did it. The last videos I did was on the hottest day ever recorded, which was about 103, 104. It's literally like 68, I think. What a difference in just 2 days, in 48 hours. But anyway, we're not here to talk about the weather. What we're here to talk about today is Monica Bodirsky. I think that's how you're, or Bodirsky, I should say. It's Monica Bodirsky. Now, she is kind of well known now in the tarot community because of the Shadowland Tarot. But I first became aware of Monica's work 5 years ago, back in 2018, and I got this, I can't even remember where now, I think it was off Etsy, but it was Monica Bodirsky's House of Shadows Oracle deck, and this was the second edition. And I think I'd seen the first edition, didn't get it, and then regretted it, and then they came out with a second edition. And it says 36 Oracle cards. And I did a walkthrough, and the black and white, this version is black and white. And I did a walkthrough, and people were saying, well, it's a Lenormand deck. And they're right, you know, it's got key, scythe, bouquet, letter, what you would find in a Lenormand deck, house. And I must say, at first I was a little bit disappointed because I'm not a Lenormand reader. And from what I've picked up, particularly from Lenormand enthusiasts, there is a specific and set way to read Lenormand cards, and that's fine. However, for me, divination is divination, and if I pull a card and I get something from it, then that's good enough for me. But I really, really like Monica's art style. It's very simplistic. It's cute and creepy at the same time. It's, yeah, absurd. I just love everything about her artwork. So that was the House of Shadows Oracle deck, which is a Lenormand. And then a couple of years ago, the Shadowland Tarot came on the market, mass market by Red Feather. And wow, I loved it. So much so, as soon as I opened it and did a walkthrough, I ordered a second copy as a backup. I loved everything about this. I mean, the packaging from Schiffer Red Feather is always exceptional. The book is fantastic. I absolutely love the way this book is written. And it featured in my either my top 5 or top 10 tarot decks of that year, which I believe was 2020. I think it was 2020. I don't think it was too far back as 2019. It should say here in the copyright, 2020, 2 years ago. Shadowland Tarot. Fell in love with it instantly. I've got this gorgeous pouch as well that I keep this deck in. I've got a backup that isn't touched. But what I loved about this version is this was one of the first times, I'd certainly come across it anyway, where a mass-produced deck, a mass-market deck, was creating decks of such a good quality. The gilding, the beautiful matte cardstock, borderless, just really, really great. This one, and I'm not a riffle shuffler, so it's not because of riffling, has bowed a little bit. My backup is perfect, it's nice and straight, but this one has bowed a little bit. I don't know if you can see. But again, I mean, just look at this artwork. And now I was able to see Monica's work, her art style, in these beautiful colours. again, this landscape, it's very whimsical. It is creepy, but it's not creepy where you look at it and think, oh no, I can't work with that, you know, it's too much. There is an element of cuteness to it, and an element of comedy as well. But the art style really appeals to me. I want to show my favourite card. I love it. I mean, that's a cool card as well. The Ten of Swords is such a cool card. And there's a similar one from a different perspective. That always reminds me of the film Ghost Story, which is one of my favourite films. Love it. My Five of Pentacles is always a very significant card for me, particularly when, you know, the first time I picked up the RWS back in 2008, and seeing their version of the Five of Pentacles, it was like my life in illustration. You know, somebody that left an organised religion, felt like I was on the outside, felt quite battered and bruised from the experience. So I always look at how creators depict Five of Pentacles, and I love this. I mean, here you get the same concept. There's this family around a campfire, enjoying being together, and then you've got this Yeti just observing, but not a part of it, you know, really looking at that glow. And it reminds me of the RWS, you know, with the glow of the church window and the people on the outside. So I just think it's done beautifully. But yeah, this deck, I worked to death when I got it. I just loved it. And the readings I got. But what I really enjoyed was reading the guidebook as well. And that's the other one I was going to mention. We've got the Ten of Swords, which is like a close-up of this with the 10 arrows. But here, I like this version of the 7. Most times, and I mean most times, 9 times out of 10, I'll give a guidebook a quick flick through at the beginning and then put it aside, and I work the cards, and very seldom do I go back to the guidebook. But with the Shadowland Tarot, the book is such a joy to read. It's so beautifully written. It's such a joy to read that I just kept going to the book as well, just to hear Monica's voice on the cards. So the reason why I've come on today, let's have a sip of water, is because out of the blue, I've taken delivery of Shadowland Tarot. Shadowland Lenormand. Now, I do deck reviews for Schiffer, and every so often they'll send out a catalogue and ask if there's anything in there that speaks to me, calls to me, that I'd like to do a video about. And you know, if there's decks that I don't, but the ones that I feel drawn to, I will say, yes, I wouldn't mind reviewing this deck. And Shadowland Lenormand, I saw it and I thought, well, I said I wasn't going to get any more Lenormand decks because I'm not a Lenormand reader. I've got about 15 decks, beautiful ones, but I don't use them. But I was intrigued because I wondered, and this comes with a little thank you card as well, signed by Monica. Sorry for the sirens, it happens every time, doesn't it? Pen and ink illustrations. I got to thinking, well, if the House of Shadows Oracle deck is a Lenormand, is this a colour version of this? And if it is, I was intrigued to see how they've turned out, how it's been done. Or is it completely different? Has it been redrawn? I have no idea. I've not seen any videos, purposely, because when I have seen Shadowland Lenormand mentioned on YouTube, I've kept away because I knew I was going to be reviewing it. However, I never received it. And I was talking to Schiffer the other day, and they was asking about decks that were coming out. And I said, well, I never received, there's a couple of decks that I never received. And they said, oh, that's strange. They was dispatched back in March. Well, they never turned up. So I didn't think I would get this. And then today, there was the dreaded red card through the door. And I went down to the post office and there was this and another deck from Ukraine. And I was like, oh, they've resent it. So I don't think it's taken from March till July to get here. I actually think they've resent it, which is really good of them, you know, because they didn't need to, being as the first one went missing. All right, so Shadowland Lenormand. Again, because this is red feather, the packaging is wonderful. Look at that, really nice. And I like how it's very similar in style. You know, they go together quite well. They'd look nice on a shelf, wouldn't they? So there's that kind of uniformity. The only difference is this has got like a gloss finish to the box, whereas the tarot deck has a matte finish. It retails at $24.99 in dollars. So let's see what we've got on the box. A little here, it says each card holds not just an archetypal Lenormand symbol, but also either characters or characteristics that seem to add an extra layer of meaning to every one of my readings. Okay. And then on the back, a deck for shadows and light. Okay, fear of what we can't see has the ability to conjure images of hungry beasts ready to pounce from the shadows. Yet, it is within the shadows where hidden truth is revealed. Oh, that's so true. Become acquainted with the shadow aspects of the archetypal personalities through the playful and quirky ink and watercolour creatures that compose this 36 card Lenormand deck and accompanying guidebook. And I'm glad there's an accompanying guidebook, because very often, certainly with the Lenormand decks I get, that's something that's quite lacking, and that's something I've always found quite frustrating as well. So this is ink and watercolour, and what they're saying here is, how do they describe it? Ink and pen, I think it was ink and pen. It was on the little card, wasn't it? I'm looking on the box thinking, I know I saw it somewhere. Pen and ink illustration. So pen and ink and watercolour. So let's open it up. So on the inside, we get a bio of Monica Bodirsky. She's first generation Canadian artist, author and practitioner of mystical arts, and is one of Northern and Eastern European heritage. I'm just having a read there, see if there's anything else that might be of interest. Oh, look at this. So again, this is really nice in how it matches with the tarot deck. I should have just left this out, shouldn't I? So you see the backs of the tarot deck, and we have the same backs for Lenormand. Now the Lenormand is actually wider than the tarot, but obviously the tarot is a little bit shorter. The tarot is a little bit longer, I should say. The Lenormand is shorter, which is interesting because this one that's branded as an oracle deck is actually Lenormand size, and the Lenormand deck is more of an oracle size, and that's being called a Lenormand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in order and see, we'll have a look at the kind of similarities or difference, and it could be that it's exactly the same and it's just been recolored, as I mentioned. What else have we got here? These are just pieces of card to protect the book. That's handy. Put them down there. We have the book, Shadowland Lenormand, which is 112, 113 pages. it's again, it's done like the tarot book. It's really got a lot of information in here. Keyword, shadow, message. See, I could use this as an oracle and not as a Lenormand, with having keywords and shadow and a message. I just could. So it's really strange because what is being branded as a Lenormand, I could easily use as an oracle, but the oracle deck with very limited information, I would probably use more as a Lenormand. But there you go. So the book looks really nice and interesting, so I'll have a good look at that later. We'll just have a look at the content so you can see what you get. You get a foreword by Erica Robinson, introduction, the cards, how to use the cards, some card layouts, conclusion, and bibliography. Remember that practice is required when using any system, so don't get discouraged. If the meanings aren't always clear, often it's our intuition that steps in to indicate what the cards are trying to tell us, as long as we approach with an open heart and mind. Some little gems there. Okay, so we've got the Grand Tableau and 9 cards, etc. Yeah, so this could easily, as you can see, be used as an oracle deck. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video just to put this little deck in order, and we'll have a look. Okay, so as you can see, it is a colour version of the original House of Shadows. They have swapped the numbering and the lettering around. So we have number 1 at the top and Rider at the bottom, whereas on the House of Shadows, the numbers are always at the bottom with the card title at the top. The difference, of course, is the backs. So on the backs, again, some people find this really annoying. Didn't bother me so much on a little deck like this, but it's got the name on the back of every card. We've got this bat carrying the letter, and then Monica Bodirsky 2018. So I think I said earlier 5 years ago. 2018 isn't 5 years ago, it's 4 years ago. 4 years ago for this, 2 years ago for this, and now the Shadowland Lenormand, another 2 years on. But I like what they've done. It's exactly the same. It hasn't been, well, it may have been redrawn a little bit because there are little details that are different. I don't know if you can see here, and it doesn't appear. So it's probably been redrawn, but it's a very close likeness. But yeah, really like it. Cardstock is really nice. It does have a gloss, but it's not one of those thick set glosses. And of course, as I mentioned, the backs, this one is the same as the tarot. Look at this face in the clover. Yeah, so you can see it's redrawn and recolored because even the shape of the little sack containing the money here at the bottom is a different shape. I'm not quite sure how Lenormand traditionalists will like the increase in card size. I mean, I like it because, you know, these huge hands, but I'd imagine there's some that wouldn't. Here we have the house card. And actually I can see a lot more detail, finer details in this image. With this being ink and pen, it does get quite busy. You have to really study it. Whereas here, because we've got the different colours and the different shading, it's easier to make out the detail. We have tree. Very close to the original. Here you do see the roots of the tree at the bottom where it doesn't show as much there. Cloud. clouds. Here we have our snake, huge snake. Coffin. I love this coffin card. Not quite sure why it's levitating mid-air. Lots more kind of shading as well. This is very, very basic, sketchy, but there's lots of shade in here. You can see the clouds in the sky and the shadow on the ground, where it's just a single line there to represent the difference between earth and sky. This is done really well. Look at that. The bouquet card is gorgeous. You still see the shadowy figure here, but beautiful. Here we have the scythe. And I never realised from this image that it's actually levitating. Brooms. We have birds. Child card, using their own head as a kite. Fox. Oh, interesting, the fox is wearing a mask of a chicken. Very cunning. We have the bear. The bear's done beautifully in colour. Oh. Well, have I turned 2 over? 15. Where's my 16? Bear with. Sorry about that. I had one of those heart in the mouth moments then where I thought I was either missing a card or I was looking in the box thinking, is it in here somewhere? And I just ordered it the wrong way around. It was behind the 17 instead of in front of it. So we have our star card, the stork, do you know, I was going to say, I think I prefer the colour. I like the shading. You know, there's lots of nice watercolour shading here. But I'm really glad that I've got this as well. I'm really pleased that I have both versions because there's something quite charming about the simplicity of the pen and ink. But I do think it's got that breath of life in it with the added colour. The dog. Our tower card. Somebody actually flying up to the tower rather than falling from it. The garden is beautiful. It'd be really nice to complete the set now if Monica did because this is now rebranded as a Lenormand, if she did a Shadowland Oracle. So we've got the Shadowland Tarot, the Shadowland Lenormand. A Shadowland Oracle would be wonderful. Crossroads. just the colour, the use of colour and the shading of the shadows and everything. I mean, it is Shadowland, right? The mice, this is one of my favourites. So cute. Heart. Oh, it's had many wounds that's had to be repaired. The ring. We have book. Then we have the letter, which is off the box on the House of Shadows. The man card, and this one is off the box of the Shadowland Lenormand. The woman out walking her pet spider, as you do. We have Lily. Very simple, just that one lily being held. The sun card. The moon. Lots of mask wearing. The key. We have fish. Anchor. And the final card, card 36, is the cross. And that is really striking. That's a very powerful image. Even more so than the original. Again, it has a lot to do with the depth and the shadow. Wow. Love that card. Possibly my favourite in the whole deck. So there you have it. That's Shadowland Lenormand. I wanted to review it because, well, I wanted the deck as well, but I was curious, really curious to see whether it was a colorized version of this or a reimagined version of this. So yes, and let's hope there will be an oracle soon from Monica. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you've got this deck and you love it, or even if you don't, then leave some comments below. It'd be good to hear your thoughts. If you're a Lenormand reader, do you enjoy it as a Lenormand deck, or do you use this as an oracle deck? Like, I'm probably going to use it. The book certainly helps with that as well. And I'm really excited about reading the book because the tarot book is brilliant, and I know Monica's style of writing, so I'm sure I won't be disappointed. All right, thanks for watching, everybody, and until next time, go in peace. Namaste, and blessed be.